I want you to meet a friend of mine, Andrew Sanchez, a transformed man of Jesus. Check out what the Lord does in and through his life. God is on the move to bring renewal to all things, bringing health to individuals, creating positive impact personally and to the community around them. Never forget, Christ died for the ungodly, which is where it all starts. No one is too far gone. I just love, Andrew, what Jesus is doing in your life, and really the transformational work that that you have expressed to me, and also just what I see,
Mm-hmm.
and so I just wanted to visit that a little bit and pull parts of your story out to help us understand, like, how has the Lord been at work in your life, and how is it at work in your life now?
Mm.
So could you, basically, I'd like to just look at kind of three main things. One is, what was life like before Jesus?
Mm-hmm.
And then what led up to life in Jesus, like how you actually chose Jesus and how that happened. And then kind of like, what has life been like now?
Mm.
So with that, welcome, Andrew, and so good to have you here with the Oasis, and to share a part of your story with us. So
Yeah.
So what was life like? Especially through those teen years, going into the 20s. What was that like for you?
My life was it was probably pretty, it was a little destructive, I'd say. When I got into high school, I started skateboarding a lot, and with that came a lot of I don't think it was skateboarding that really got me into drinking. I just kind of really started doing that. But I mean, in general, skateboarding has a lot of, I don't want to blame it on the sport, but there are certain areas where you're influenced into doing certain things, and hanging out with skater punk kids are kind of just a party all the time, doing a lot of stunts and doing a lot of stuff. But I had a lot of fun doing it at that time, but it's got me into a lot of trouble. So we in high school, I know I got suspended for going to school heavily intoxicated. I In high school, I also was um, never in class. Of course, everybody kind of has that story though. Um, and then we would just me and my friends would constantly be doing crazy kind of things that sometimes would land us in trouble with the law. Um, I know we got in trouble at a carnival one time. We got arrested, and parents had to get called, and we were in a lot of trouble that night. Other times, police officers were involved with us because we were just doing wrong things in the wrong places. And after a while, I knew that I was stressing like my parents out so intensely that I felt like they just got to the point where they didn't really want to try to correct me anymore. Like, and that gave me the feeling of just like they, it, I know they did, but like they didn't care is kind of the way they portrayed it to me a little. And that just made me feel so horrible that you push loved ones to such extremes that they don't want to put an effort into correcting you anymore. And so I kind of backed off doing a lot of stupid things and a lot of bad decisions, and somehow made it through high school. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
so I'm hearing you say that there was kind of this sense of, there was some disruption in family life with relationship with parents. Would you
yeah,
say that's the reason why through high school you backed off on some of those things?
yeah, yeah, definitely. I just saw a lot of drama inside my family that I was bringing into it, and I literally knew that I could have probably like even broke up my parents at that time because they were fighting so much over me. And not only that, but I felt like I was losing like a closeness with my brother and sister because I was just wasn't around them anymore. I was always with my friends, and I was always bringing home this drama that that uh, that was just causing them to just. I think everybody just view me the way I felt, at least, and to just view me as like this, just this mess up, kind of, you know.
Mm.
So it got pretty rough for a while, but
And how did that feel? I mean, did you think about that at the time? You know, like, in what way, if so, or if not, how does that play itself out? Yeah.
I didn't think about it for a while. You know, I was only thinking about having fun, what I thought was fun. Only after like my feelings really started to get hurt because I could feel my family just, of course, not proud of me and disappointing a lot of people and consistently just being in trouble. Yeah, it just started to hurt me because I didn't want to be that person, you know. But I was also drawn into doing a lot of bad, like stupid decisions. So we just had to cut them out, you know. I was hurt enough inside where I was like, I can't keep doing this to my family. This is messed up. And so it just went on, but in the background, you know, and it didn't really continue, obviously, but it did continue in the background
Mm.
and made it through high school and got a job in the electrical field. And
So that happened, like, how soon after high school did you start to work in the electrical field?
it's probably like 9 or 10 months or so after high school.
Okay.
So hung out for a while, didn't do anything after high school. And my dad just got fed up with that. And he just threw an application on the coffee table one day. He's like, here, fill this out. And so it just kind of literally landed into my lap because he was tired of me just doing absolutely nothing after high school and just
Mm.
partying with my friends, you know? So yeah, I got into it at that point. And from there into my 20s, those decisions kind of continued. So that resulted in really more trouble. I got me and my friends would do a lot of dumb things, but sometimes we get caught, sometimes we wouldn't. We get away with a lot of it, and then eventually you get caught. You always do. And got a DUI number one, where that was really bad, horrible DUI. Like I was out with my friends all night that night, and in minimal details, it was just partied with them all night, probably 3 or 4 in the morning or something, driving home, definitely intoxicated and just exhausted, passed out, plowed my car directly into the back fence of my neighbor's house.
Hmm.
hmm And there's just pieces of fence everywhere. My car was destroyed. And when I came to it, is my car was just up tight against the fence, one of their other fences in their backyard, and I couldn't open my door, and I just was panicking kind of because I was like, I am in so much trouble right now. I knew what was coming for me, you know, and it was horrible. So I just basically took off. I just took off from that scene, and I had to go back though, of course, because there's
Like,
no
you
escape.
took off, as in you left the car there,
I just ditched the car.
everything there,
Yeah.
and you just
I just
took off.
I just took off. Yeah. I
Okay.
was just in this
Yeah.
state of mind where I was thinking, if I hang out here, I'm going to be in more trouble, is kind of what I thought, because then they would obviously know that I was intoxicated. So in my head, I was still going to just try to stay away from this scene maybe and own up to it later. But I had to go back. It's like if I didn't, it would have just been so much worse. And we went back, and I just got arrested from there and went to jail that night.
So there was this trajectory,
Mm.
and a lot of it had to do with alcohol at the time, and some trouble that had got you into. I mean, how much time did you actually lose your license total between everything?
Technically, like 7 years.
7 years. Okay.
Yeah, it was one for the first DUI, another one, I think it was actually, yeah, about a year for the second one, and then 5 years after the third offense.
Okay. I
But
mean, that's hard. That's hard to
yeah,
not, even though you were saying like it's a badge of honor, with the friends that you had, to
Yeah.
kind of have that. But that
Yeah.
that makes it hard in many respects, with work and
It made it
with
really hard. Yeah. I lost the
yeah,
job. Everything, the life just became stagnant. It didn't really progress after that. It just
yeah,
stayed in the same spot. But it's probably more like 5 years that I did because I got it back a little bit early after a specific amount of time of having that revocation,
yeah.
which is a cool story in itself. Yeah.
Mm. So what would you say are a couple of the events that happened for you to prepare yourself
Hmm.
to actually consider Jesus, um, really in your life? Because you had mentioned to me that you grew up in a family that did go to church, right? And you had exposure to the
Hmm.
word. You knew the word, through lessons and as you were growing up and that kind of thing. But
Hmm.
Jesus wasn't real in your life, really, right? That you could articulate. Am I getting that right?
I always believed in Jesus, but
Okay.
I just never ever like had a relationship. Um, I never ever prayed. I never. And so much time went by that when I first started thinking about God again, it was like I ha- I started remembering like Moses and then like Jonah and the whale and stuff, and I was like, wow, oh yeah, I kind of remember that story a little bit. It was so foreign to me, It just hadn't. I literally did not think about it hardly at all, in like from like 12 to 13 to like 25 or so or
Yeah.
26.
Yeah.
Um,
So then what happened? Like
uh,
what woke you up to Jesus? In the next couple minutes here, if you can really give us kind of that sense of what happened.
I don't think it was exactly one event, but a lot of little ones that kept opening my eyes a little bit more. Um, there's a lot of areas where I kind of put myself in dangerous situations where I thought I could have even like maybe died and such. But I remember one day, and this is just one of many little ones, but one day I remember waking up and I was just like, man, I feel good today. I feel like I have energy. I feel like I'm inspired. I feel like clarity. And then I kind of thought about it for a second. I was like, wait a second, I'm sober this morning because I was just too broke last night to drink and too physically ill from the night before to drink. So I just passed out really early the night before and I woke up sober this day. And it's like one of the first days I woke up sober in a really long time because I was so used to waking up and feeling horrible and then nursing that hangover every single day and or waking up completely drunk still. but I remember just feeling good that day. And then I thought, man, this is actually how you should feel every single day, being sober and just having the energy right away. Um, it's not even energy, it's just I was still tired. It's just an ordinary day of just waking up sober.
Mm.
But it felt so much better than waking up so hungover all the time. And then I thought to myself at that time, like, man, this is like pretty serious. I think this is a really bad problem. So that was a big eye opener. And then I just started to something changed in my mind, where there's just a little bit of a deeper thought process started happening. And I think it was just God, because I was so fed up. And I think one night I just literally prayed for like the first time in a really long time. And it's just because I was so broken and I didn't really like where I was. And I could have predicted my next day and my next week and my next month and my next year of life. And every single moment of that was just living like meaningless, pointless life in a very small world. Um, I didn't like that feeling. So I started thinking past like a lot of issues that I had and thinking about how I could figure them out and such. And then I just prayed one night, like I said. And that prayer was basically just a small reconnection, like just talking to God for just a quick second. I don't think it was anything really specific, but just like feeling like I needed God at that point. And at that same time, my family members were starting to go back to church because my brother was starting to play in the church band at that time from an old pastor we used to know in the past. And my parents followed him to that church and they started inviting me there. And I was resistant, of course, initially. It just felt like it was such a foreign world to me now. And I kind of viewed it as like something completely unnatural for myself now. Like I felt like I didn't belong there. I felt like it was like a nerdy lifestyle or something. And and one day I just kind of felt so bad and felt so horrible, and you just feel so like depressed and such, where you really don't have anything else that makes you feel better at all. So you're just like, well, you really open yourself up to trying new things at that point. So like, all right, I'll check it out. And I showed up to church that day, and I was just super uncomfortable, but I just kind of toughed it out and just hung out by myself in the back and listened to the sermon. And I felt like that sermon was like, I felt like it was like written directly for me, because it was so many things that he had touched on that like really just hit me hard and really, really made me feel uh like inspired again, like for the very first time in a really long time, rather than just feeling horrible consistently. I felt a little inspired. I felt a little happy. I felt a little hopeful. And I left that sermon and I was like, man, that was so good. Like I loved that. And I loved that feeling that I got while I was there. And I feel like I want to be a little better now. So it made me think about it some more. I prayed just a little bit more. I went to church, maybe once every 6 weeks or something now. I dug my old Bible out of wherever it was in the storage, probably in my parents' basement somewhere at their house, and I found it, and I was like, wow, I haven't seen this thing in really long time. Sometimes I would just open it up really randomly at night and just read something, and I feel like the areas that I just opened it up to were like God talking to me. So that was it just started making me feel like I was noticed.
So in this journey, what I'm hearing is that you were led to show up at church.
Mhm,
Somehow, some way, God kind of broke through,
mm,
um, and now is drawing you into the Word, into the Bible,
mhm,
and you're finding something of help, of benefit,
mhm.
as you were, kind of drawing from the Word of God. So tell us a little bit more about kind of your journey into Christ, and that it happened. Really, you're saying kind of over a few different events, right? Or little, not even events, but just kind of these moments, right? That were indicators. Is that what you were kind of saying, or help me to understand more? Yeah, this journey into Jesus.
Let's see. I just liked the feelings I was getting. I really liked it because I wasn't feeling. I was starting to feel good again for the first time in like such a long time. So I just kept chasing that feeling. Really, I kept chasing one small moment of peace at a time, and I got that when I went to church. And I got that when I would open up the Bible really randomly and just read something, and I felt like God was giving me what I wanted to needed to know then. And I got that whenever I'd pray and just feel things and just see God come through for that. Um, I remember I remember just liking a Christian song, and it just was awesome. Like I really liked it a lot, and it got on my playlist. And my playlist was like a bunch of rock music and weird stuff, and then one Christian song on it. It was The Oceans, Where My Feet May Fail. And I was like, man, that's a cool song. But I never like showed my friends that song. I'd make sure I'd skip over it just because I didn't want to like look soft to them, but I really liked it and I listened to it and I really jammed it whenever I was on my own or in my headphones. But I kind of remember thinking like man, I'm going into this different world. Like I feel like I'm becoming a kind of a nerd or something because I just saw Christians as kind of so different than me. I saw my friends and I as just like just like above that or cooler or something. Um but I didn't really care. I was like, man, this is kind of who I was and this is who I'm stepping into. And I really like this other way to live now. Like I really feels good to do this. And I don't regret a ton of the things that I like I do over here. I do things in the church or with the church, or I remember going to my first Bible study, and I at that time I was just experiencing one moment after another of just building this momentum of just feeling like whole again and good. And I attended this first Bible study, and I remember just sitting there. And this is a very like uh, conscious moment of thinking, like, man, who are you now? I was asking myself because I'm like, you're sitting in a Bible study, man. This is like so foreign for you. Like this is for different people. It's really not for me. But I got out of that Bible study, and everything that we talked about, I just felt like it was completely absorbed, and I loved every part of it, and I wanted to know like so much more. Like it felt so good. So I was like, man, if this is what being a nerd is about, then like I let's be a nerd.
Mm,
I love that. It feels so good. And at that time I was just
yeah.
thinking like it feels so good to be good is
Mm.
because it felt so horrible to be just living on a daily basis of drinking and partying and doing all that. Um
So tell me, help me to understand a little bit because there, sometimes when people talk about faith, the thing that they don't like to talk about so much is that goodness piece, like um, and how that might be connected to God. Like there's the forgiveness piece, that Jesus offers, but you're actually, what I'm hearing you say is that goodness piece is actually one of those things that kind of led you deeper into the heart of Christ.
mhm,
Like you were, because of that, you were actually feeling something different in your life.
mhm.
Um, and so how does that all wrap in with um, how you actually like decided Jesus is who I want to live for. Um, and also I am so thankful for the forgiveness that is found in the cross, and all this kind of thing. Like how does that in your mind all wrap together, would you say?
um there's a lot of details in that, but I guess to put it minimally, it's when I kind of found out that Jesus is the way I want to go. Is I felt like there was so many doors closed in my mind and I never explored any of them, and I just thought and with the same simple way all the time. And I felt like I just started opening all those doors in my mind and thinking about all of my problems, and then I would I wouldn't even like know about certain things. I feel like it was just that Holy Spirit just teaching me how to get better, because I would lay on my couch and then think about my anxiety issues that I had at that time, and then think, how do I get past this? How do I get past this excessive extreme fear that I have? And then I would think about the Bible studies I was going to now. Well, I learned this, and this is how I trust Jesus in that. And I would just insert that truth into my mind whenever I thought about that, and it would stop that. And I started getting past all these weird fears that I had, and really obsessive, like irrational fears that I had developed. So I was just like breaking through into this new person that rather than being extremely um irresponsible or minimal in any type of responsibility, I didn't want any responsibility and I didn't push myself at all. And I was stepping into just this more bolder attitude. I wanted to take on things and figure out my issues. And this feeling I was feeling inside myself was just like so real. And I was extremely confident about what it was, you know? It wasn't like just a happy feeling. It was just like something super uh everlasting, you know? It was like actually real happiness, you know?
I really, really value what you've been saying about how I mean, in essence, the Lord has been leading you little by little.
Mm,
Uh, and there wasn't necessarily this conversion moment, but there's this movement that is moving into the way and holiness of Jesus that has transformed your life. And it's what Jesus does, right? When we kind of go his direction, that's what he does
mhm.
to people. And so just to kind of wrap up our time, what are maybe one or two things that you could say, this is really what life in Christ has been for me now?
A huge thing for me was just stopping what I felt like doing, you know? It's I naturally feel like just doing things that I considered fun back then, like just partying and such. And I had to start trying to discipline myself to do what God says is isn't to sin, you know, isn't sin, isn't gonna lead me to like a spiritual death, basically. And the more I cut those things out of my life, it made me feel good. It made me feel stronger. And I know that it's been something God's proud of me for, you know? And I really felt like something that God told me because I just keeps coming back to me. And it was something that just came to my head one day back then, was that always feel all these feelings like I really want to go do this party or go drink or go do something kind of reckless or those desires never really left, you know, then I was just trying not to do them a lot. And I remember writing on a piece of paper, um, you are not what you feel, you are what you choose. And I just put it on my wall in my bedroom. And it's like something that I live by all the time now because I don't guilt myself for craving those things. I don't feel bad that those are my initial thoughts. I don't let that be who I am and as my identity. I say, you know, my next immediate thought is who I am. So who I am is what I read in the Bible and what I try to follow is literally seeing Jesus's actions and just actually trying to live just like he did, you know. And the more I do that now, like the better I get at it, the more proud of myself I am. And
It's interesting,
yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
um, there is a sense of developing. I mean, the Spirit of God helps us to develop new pathways,
hmm,
new pathways of thought and new pathways of being, right? New pathways of even how we interact with God and with each other. But what I'm hearing you say is it's this both and, right? It's what the Lord is doing, but it's also the choosing
hmm,
to agree, right?
hmm,
And in a sense, it's something that feels good. It's something that is leading you into light,
hmm.
right? Rather than a constant. I mean, there's these battles that we have, but not a constant negative battle, right?
It is a battle, you know. Choosing a good lifestyle and in following Christ is, you know, is it's it's nothing I've never been more sure of in my life. Um, it's the one thing that I was like 100% confident on. It wasn't just a feeling. It's completely real. And it's a battle to, yeah, uphold that sometimes, that lifestyle, but completely worth the effort. And it's what it'll be a continual process to continue to just try and fail and keep trying.
In a word, if it's possible to just say, this is the word right now for me in Christ, what would you say that word is?
For myself, at least in my personal walk, it's been just consciously choosing against what I naturally feel and choosing God's word.
Mm.
Yeah, one of my old pastors told me a piece of advice, and he said that because I went into a conversation with him one time. He just told me, it comes to a point where you just intellectually, consciously just choose to follow the Lord, even if you don't feel like it all the time. And I was like, completely agree. I know this is the right way to go now. 100% sure. And
it's interesting because that is tied in with trust, right? You're saying I'm absolutely sure, like this is the one thing I'm sure about, right? Yeah. But to choose that way is really to trust that Jesus actually is gonna come through.
I might say, like, we think we know about it. I thought I knew about this lifestyle, and I summed it up to what I viewed it as from the outside in, or looking from the outside. And now that I'm on the inside of this world, I'm like, oh, man, it's completely different. It's so real. It's the best way I've ever lived. And I really hope that people just consider it completely, like look into it, look into God, because it's the realest thing. It's the best way to just live a hopeful, full life, completely. It's real, for sure it is.
Yeah. A hopeful, full life. This is what we want to help everyone experience through these on the street discipleship videos. We want to help you move from what feels like a non-relationship or a distant relationship with God into something that you can say is real. But it takes your initiative to say to yourself and God, I want you so much that I will surrender myself to you. Your way, your will be done. Christ did the work on the cross to break down the barriers between God and people. The wall is down. The decision is yours to cross the threshold into God's right side up kingdom of hope and health. In your heart, are you saying yes? If so, tell God now. Let's keep moving forward together.